Come on, we're in the building. It's me again, your host, Simon. How are you guys? How's everyone doing? Man, I hope everyone firstly had a fantastic bank holiday weekend. Hope everyone was rested. I hope everyone was chilling, relaxing, get to spend time with the family, and just get your mind off work and all the other things that comes with it. But it's good to rest. I myself have had quite a challenging day. It's been a tough day trying to get through things, trying to get through work. But challenges are good as they build you up and prepare you for the battles of tomorrow. So with that being said, we're a couple of days away from normality as such. Restaurants and shops begin to open here in London. If you're watching anywhere else in the world, I'm sure you're already enjoying the freedom that comes with not having this virus around. But today, we are going to get it in. We are going to get it in today. Last week I discussed my 5 top interview questions let me do this. There we go. I think that's a lot better. Last week I spoke about my 5 top interview questions that I believe comes up a lot. And today I will be discussing my 5 hardest interview questions. And I really tried to think of my own experiences as well as doing a lot of research on what is the hardest question that does come up within interviews, and I hope that this will help you all. If you haven't already and you've arrived, please smash a like on the button, share and subscribe, as that would be fantastic. I did speak about, last week about that, and this week we're going to go into the hardest questions, which is going to be fun. But before that, I always like to go into something that is going to help in regards to mindset and mentality. And ultimately, it's this quote here. And it basically reads, you are a very special person and there is none like you in the whole world. There's never been anyone exactly like you before, and there never will be again. I think this is very, very important, and it really encapsulates kind of what I've been saying over the weeks. I've spoken about hard skills, soft skills, and all the technicalities that come with a person. But ultimately, there is only ever going to be one you. There's never going to be another person like you. There's only ever going to be one person like you. So you can have as many many bows to many strings to your bow, but ultimately it's you that is going to direct those bows to a point. And I think when we're going through these questions, when we're going through these scenarios, when we're going through these interviews, ultimately it's you as a being. That is what you're going to sell to the hiring manager. When we go through these hard questions, I think ultimately you want to have it in your mind that when you are speaking to the hiring manager, the questions that they ask you is questions so that they can get to know you. Because ultimately, that's going to be the difference between you and another person. So, you have to really, really, really know yourself and ultimately really love being you. Because when you really get to have that love of self, you'll be able to really express that through your questions, through your answers to their questions. So I really hope that really helps. As again, these are cornerstone things that I'm talking about, because ultimately it really is mentality. Like mentality is just, it's so important, and it's the thing that's going to make you stand out from your peers and from your other people in the interview process. So it really is good to be back. As you guys know, I do it every week. I do a live Q&A at the end. So please, guys, put your comments and questions in the comments part of YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is you're watching, so that I'm able to come to it after I do this presentation. Because as I've mentioned before, the comments do come up a little bit late and it is lagged. So just so that I can get to every single person, please do stick it in the comment part. So my first part was this question: do you have any regrets? Now, I think that this question is a really, really good question, but it's also a very, very tricky question, because this question really could mess up a lot of people. Because you could talk about regret, but it could take you down a path that you may not be able to come back from. So you want to be able to spin it correctly. So firstly, the question is designed for you to exhibit that you are self-aware of yourself. That's firstly. That's what they want to do. Secondly, the recruiter or hiring manager is looking to see genuine feelings and emotions. They want to be able to see how you felt through a scenario. Again, I would suggest a STAR method. That is, the scenario, what's actually happened, the action, and the result. Again, that's something you wanna use for this answering this question. You also want to demonstrate what you've learned. I think that is where the result is, because you want to be able to show them, like, okay, prior to this scenario, this is how I felt, this is where I was. Then you want to go to where you was in the midst of the situation, and then afterwards, how did it affect you? But you want to demonstrate how it affected you positively. You could spin it around as like, okay, it may have, it could have a negative effect, but you want to be able to show that it had almost like a positive way on a positive impact, on your work. That's what you want to say. Because once you do that, the employer, the recruiter, they're able to see that, okay, this person has obviously gone through something. He was able to understand where his position was or actions were during the scenario, how maybe he or she could have changed it, and how that ultimately had an positive effect on that person going forward. And that's the kind of things you want to say during that kind of question. Again, it is a very tough question, but you want to prepare for, questions like that, because, you don't want to be put on the spot, just in case you don't answer the question. And more times than none, you won't be able to answer the question in its full capacity and in the way that you would probably want to express yourself. So make sure that you are prepared. You are prepared for that. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good question. Now, honestly, I don't know. Like, this is such a good question, because this one, I like to call this like a personality question. Now, when an employer or recruiter is asking you, what did you dislike about your last job? Make sure you don't slate that job. Like, that's a no-no. Don't do that. Don't slate the job. Don't throw anyone under the bus. Don't mention names. Don't do any of that stuff. Even if it's in a jokey way, don't even do that. Don't do that. That's the worst thing you want to do. What you want to do is you basically always want to highlight, kind of give an overview of what it is you've done. Then you want to be able to discuss, discuss some of your tasks that you were doing. And then you want to be able to highlight bits about your tasks that you may have not necessarily enjoyed. At that moment, you can then now say, okay, I didn't dislike this part of my role, in as much as I did enjoy the role as a whole, but these tasks I didn't enjoy. Now, you can't just leave it there, because that's not what they are looking for. What they're actually asking for is, what did you dislike about the job? And now that you've identified what you dislike about the job, what did you do to change it around to make it better so that you could enjoy the work, or that your work process was a lot easier? Now, that is what you need to add on to that question. It can't just be, I just disliked this task. It can't be that. It's got to be like, I disliked these few tasks, and as a result, I then did some research. I found maybe an application, some sort of tech that was able to do the work that I normally, the task that I normally do, but I made it faster. I then spoke to my managers, I spoke to my team leaders, and then they were able to see the value, and then they then implemented it, and then that was a new way of us working. Now that is a way you would answer that question. Is it so? You've answered it. You've said the things you disliked, but you showed the initiative. You've shown that you're able to use resources and things around you and implement something within a team setting. So this is what you want to do, especially when you're answering this question. But for the love of God, please do not slate your company, because if you do, the company will only see it as that, well, if you're slating this company, what's going to be the difference between you coming here and then you moving somewhere else and doing the exact same thing? So be mindful of that, because again, the world is very, very small. All righty. This is a fun one. All right, let's get into it. Yeah. So what has changed in the room since you walked in? That's another really, really interesting question. I find that with this kind of question, it really is again about getting to know you. So, when someone does ask a question that you could feel like, they're trying to almost like throw me under a bus, or it's gonna make me feel uncomfortable, don't panic. Don't feel defensive. Don't be defensive about it. Recognize that they are trying to find out exactly who you are underneath all the armor, and see what you're about. So again, I see this as a character question, and the employer is wanting to find out more about the kind of your thought processing. So ideally, how I would answer this question is, for me, it would be like, I've walked into the room. And that obviously will show the employer that, I'm confident, I'm bold. But a safe one could be time. That could be used. Another one could be, a candidate just left, that could be one. Or you could even make it quite jokey and quite comical, like, your new employees arrived, something like that. And I think, you want to be able to, again, like I've mentioned, have that kind of conversational interview, not have a back and forth binary interview, because again, it becomes quite plastic. You want to have an actual conversation, like you would if you're meeting a friend and you're going for a coffee. That is what you want to have when you're having these discussions with people. You want to have a conversation, and you want to have that energy passing. You don't want it to be like rough and rigid, because honestly, it just doesn't flow. But ultimately, when answering this question, there is no wrong or right answer. I just find that, you should kind of spin around your own personality, this one. So for me, I would answer it like, I'm here. Your employee is here. I'm here. So, again, it's just your own personality when it's coming to answering that question. That's good. But I'm seeing the comments coming, flying in. If you haven't already, please drop in your comments, because at the end of the presentation, I do like to answer questions. So if you haven't already, please drop them in. Come on, guys. Let's go. Love it. That's it. Yeah, I know some of these ones are new. Some of these ones are new. So yeah. Another good, I love this one. I love this one. This one I love. What do you think I'm thinking? Now, this again, I think is another personality kind of question that allows it to almost be like an ice-breaking question. The way that I would answer this question is, what do you think I'm thinking? I would say you're probably thinking, where are the papers for me to get started at this company? And I would answer in that way because I want to be able to show them that I am completely fearless. Like I'm that guy who will do anything to get the result, especially as I've always worked majority in the last couple of years in a sales capacity. So everything is more like business driven, really goal orientated. So I would answer it in that way. If you maybe were in a creative, if you were maybe working in a creative capacity, maybe you would want to answer the question in a creative way. But if you're in a, I don't know, maybe even in a fitness way, maybe you're working in fitness and you get asked this question, maybe it's about the effects on someone's mental health or someone's body or those kind of things. You wanna base it around the role. That's how generally I feel this question should be answered, and you want to try and layer it out. You want to layer it up as if it's going to go into another conversation quite naturally. It's these questions are difficult because I think if you're not used, especially if you're not an extrovert, if you're not used to being in a place where you have to cultivate conversation out of absolutely nothing, it can be quite difficult. But if you are quite familiar with being in that setting, it's going to be very easy for you to answer questions such as these, because they are trying to break the ice and get to know you, not to challenge you or to offend you or to, be like in your face. It's not trying to do that. It is trying to unshell and maybe come away from the traditional interview styles. So that one's there for you. Ooh, this one here. It's a very, very good one as well. What would you change about your last job? This one is obviously, again, is very similar to the one I said, what did you dislike about your last job? But this one sets you up a little bit easier. And what would you change about your last job? Now, you can talk about the tasks that you've done and, really highlight your achievements. And then you can really go into, some of the things that you would like to change. But I wouldn't answer the question about what I would like to change, because that could, for me, in my mind, that could leave me exposed to be like, so why didn't you change it? If that makes sense. I would answer the question about things that I would like to change and how I actually did change it. Because that will then show the recruiter, show the hiring manager that I was able to identify, the processes, how it was taxing on me and my time and so forth, and how I overcame them by implementing new ideas, fresh ideas to the business, to my team, to my manager, and that will show the recruiter that, okay, this person is aware. And that's what you want to, again, this is what you want to do. You want to be able to always show the recruiter that you have other things that are really going to be of use to them. You know, I've been having loads of discussions today with different clients about different roles, and you know, a lot of the ways that I'm really discussing to them is about the other things outside of the role. Because when you get asked these questions and when you do go for interviews, you know, it's quite tunnel visioned when you're going for a role, because it's like, these are your tasks, this is all that you're gonna do, and this is what you're assessed on like KPIs. But as a company grows and matures, they are actually wanting other things. It's not just the roles and tasks that you're doing. So when you're getting asked these kind of questions, like what would you change about your last job, or what did you dislike about your last job? It's those things that's going to propel you further in your career, other than, you know, your skills, because companies and things are always going to evolve. Even job tasks will evolve. And, you know, you as a person, you need to always evolve. But if you don't have the right mindset and not have the right attitudes towards your work, which is, you know, it is your responsibility to create change that is going to be beneficial to not just you, but your team. That is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to, if you dislike something about your work, it is your responsibility to find out, okay, what things can I do to make this better? It is your responsibility. And, you know, it is like, a T and C kind of thing, but, you know, you need to see that in you, that it is your responsibility to make sure that, you know, if there is something that's lacking, if there is something that's missing, that, you know, it's your responsibility to be like, okay, what can I do to add that? Because that's why you're there. You're there to add value. And, you know, I can only repeat that over and over and over again. You are there to add value. So in closing to that, it's going to lead me on to the closure of the presentation. I hope that really helped, and it was insightful. And we go on to the Q&A that I love. All right. Man, we all need to step up our interview games. We all need to step up our interview games. Like the interview process is changing all the time. It's never staying still. You know, companies are always trying to find and always trying to shake up their process in regards to how they hire, because, you know, they hire because they have goals. That's why they hire, and they know that they can't do it within themselves. So they need more skills, they need more manpower to get them to their destination. So they're always trying to find the best talent that's available on the market. So we all need to ensure that we are improving every day. So, you know, make sure you are reading. Like I mentioned, if you're not on LinkedIn, make sure you're on LinkedIn, because all the biggest and newest things in and around jobs and careers, you will find on that platform. So that will be there, you know, for you to look into and to ultimately grow into. But where are the questions? I was hoping that someone would challenge me today with some questions. But if there are no questions, then I will call it a halt there. But in closing to that, yes, the interview questions are constantly being updated. I was actually reading something that I actually wanted to share, and it was Google. Now, when Google hiring engineers, they actually give them mathematical questions, literally just off the bat, to kind of just see how they process things in their minds. And obviously, that gives them an insight of what kind of engineer they are actually hiring, especially when it's under pressure. So, this is just like an example that I found just doing my own research on interview questions and interview techniques of different companies and organizations. So, these things would only happen in like larger organizations who, are quite big, and, they really want the best of the best. The ones that are medium to small startups, they will be following these bigger companies, but not to the same capacity. So I do hope that is also very insightful to you as well. Also as well, Glassdoor. If you haven't already signed up to Glassdoor, please sign up to Glassdoor, because a lot of the interview questions that happen within an organization or a company, you will find on that platform. I know I did do something on Indeed around like the summary of a company, but it's not the same as in Glassdoor, whereas, people who go for interviews, they do stick their experiences, their interview process, and some of the questions that they encountered, they will stick it on there. Okay. That's cool. I'm glad that I was able to cover that. I do try to go in as thorough as possible, Peter, because I feel like that's the best way to help and to really share with you guys all the stuff that's going in and around the industry. So yeah, but if there are any other questions, then I want to say thank you again for coming, attending, and watching my show. Please do, if you haven't already, hit the like button, share, and subscribe, and have a fantastic night. Have a phenomenal week, and I will be back here next week. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about next week as of yet, as I have loads of things rattling through my mind, but I will be coming back with some great content that's going to be of great use to you. So do take care, have a fantastic night, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Do take care, good night, and God bless. Woo.